Obstacles are a blessing, and no matter which road you are on in life and what goals you are trying to achieve, there are going to be obstacles that are going to be in the way of you and your goal that you're going to have to face. And when we start off on this journey towards our goal, we oftentimes lose hope in ourselves and in that goal because things are harder than we thought they were going to be. And we give up on our dreams not because it is difficult to achieve, but because we didn't expect it to be so hard and difficult. We knew that it wasn't going to be a perfect ride towards our goals and our dreams, right? We knew that things were going to be in the way, hardships were going to be in the way, but we didn't expect them to be as hard as they are. And when we come across them, they are like 10 times harder than what we thought they were going to be. And so then when we come across that hardship and that obstacle in between us and our success, and when we start struggling with it because it is a lot harder than what we thought it was going to be, we often interpret our struggle as like a humiliating proof that we don't have what it takes to achieve our dreams because we're struggling so hard with this one thing. So this mindset is hardwired into all of our minds. We all think that the road to success is relatively easy. We know that there's going to be some hard things in it, but it's not going to be that hard. And we think that it should be a smoother ride and that it won't take so long to get there. So why do we think that the path to success is relatively easy? Well, when you were growing up, did your parents tell you that in the future you will experience loneliness and depression and anxiety and panic attacks, unfulfilling jobs, and broken toxic relationships? No, they did not tell you that. If they did, then you grew up with some sorry parents. So instead of telling us the harsh realities of life in the future, they would tell us fairy tales of, fictional people experiencing a little bit of hardships, but then they would overcome it and then they lived happily ever after. Like Cinderella, she lost a slipper. Oh my gosh, it's the worst thing in the world. But she got it back and then she got married and then she had those 7 doors or whatever, whoever has that, the 7 doors, and she lived happily ever after. That is what we are told when we are younger. We're told these stories of how we might have a little bit of struggle in our lives, but in the end, we will overcome it fairly easily and we will live a happily ever after. That is what we are told growing up. But that gives the kid a sense of false hope for the future. And I'm not sure if this is a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying what the facts are. But this gives the kid a sense of a false hope in the future. It's not the right interpretation of life, but it is a more brighter and hopeful mindset than if your parents were to tell you the harsh realities of life. That is a negative mindset to have growing up. And honestly, if you told the poor child that, you're going to be depressed and lonely and anxious and broke, then the child might not have so much hope for the future. Children are very bright and hopeful and just eager to do things. And if you depleted all of their energy and hope for the future with the harsh realities of life, they honestly might just give up and they might live a depressed life from age 7 when you tell them that. So I'm not saying which way is better to do to raise your children, but I'm just saying that this is why we think our future is going to be relatively easy, because of the tales of life that we are told growing up. We're told that it is fairly easy. And then other times when we are growing up, when we aren't told fairy tales anymore by our parents, we see influencers, we see basketball players or comedians or entrepreneurs, and they hide the struggles of their path towards success because they are simply trying to impress people. And a lot of us do this, honestly. We try to make things simpler to try to show off our abilities. We try to make our hard work appear simple and easy and kind of obvious as well. We knew the answers the entire time when we really didn't. But we make it seem that way because we want people to be impressed by us. But they fail to mention the hidden struggles that they had to go through. And we look up to these people and we take their word for it and we think that, the road to becoming a comedian or the road to becoming a bodybuilder is easy because this guy said it was, and it looked like he knew all the answers the entire time, and it's just pretty simple what to do. But the bodybuilder doesn't tell us about the struggles of having to work out multiple times a day for multiple hours, or to have to eat this certain way every single day, or to do this much cardio, or to wake up at this time and to get this many hours of sleep. They don't tell us about that. Comedians don't tell us about all of the rehearsal time that they have had to do, all of these shows where they have to tweak just the slightest little thing in their routine to see if they get a better reaction from the crowd or not. And then they take that and then they implement it into the next show, but then they might tweak it a little bit more. And then they take that and then implement it into the next show, and so on and so forth, over and over again. Hundreds of thousands of shows, of little shows, and then we see them, in like in front of a huge crowd, and they have like the perfect script and everything. But we don't see all of the effort and hard work and hours that they put into perfecting that script. We just see the end result. And the same thing goes with every other, like public figure person, musicians, entrepreneurs. There was so many hidden struggles that we don't see because they are trying to impress us. And this is what Horace, he was a Roman poet, I believe. He said that art lies in concealing art. And that is essentially what we do to try to impress people. So those two reasons are why we think that the road to success should be relatively easy. Is because of the way that we are taught to interpret life growing up as children. And because of the public figures that we look up to, they hide the struggles that they had to face because they want to impress other people. So now that we understand where our mindset has come from, we can now look into why obstacles are secretly a blessing. And like I say on this channel, I say this over and over again, but it is very true, that change begins with our mindset. And when you can shift your mindset, and when you have a different way of interpreting life and interpreting things, that will make everything so much easier. And these aren't like fake lies that you tell your mind to believe in to cover up the truth, but it is us actually confronting the truth, because our minds have been poisoned with a false sense of reality. And I'm trying to bring your attention back to the truth. And when you look at the truth, it is actually a lot more simpler than what you thought life actually is. It's just that it is very hard to confront and to accept. So whenever we have setbacks in our journey towards success, we see it as proof of our incapabilities to become what we want to become. If you want to become a musician and you are struggling with a certain part of becoming a musician, we see that as proof that we aren't cut out for becoming a musician. We think that we don't have what it takes. So instead of seeing obstacles as, evidence that we don't have what it takes, instead look at them as proof that we are on the standard path toward our goals. Think of it as all of our worries and our troubles and anxieties, that they are unavoidable, like landmarks on our way towards success. That these aren't things that you can skip or things that you can avoid. This is part of the journey towards success. If you don't experience this stuff, then you are on the wrong path. That these are necessary things that you have to go through in order to reach your goals and your dreams. What I like to do is I like to think of it as a map. And, on a map there's like certain checkpoints and stuff. But instead of like checkpoints, think of it as certain obstacles and struggles that you are going to have to reach. And these are the things that the public figures kept hidden because they didn't want to talk about it, and they didn't want to talk about how they struggled with it and how it took them for a surprise and how they started to doubt themselves. They want to hide all of that and make it seem like their success happened as soon as possible without any struggle. But they are hiding that, and this is the actual reality of any dream that you are chasing for any person. There are going to be certain feelings and thoughts and anxieties that you will have that everybody experiences, that everybody that wants to become what you want to become, that all of them experience. This isn't solely just about you, and life isn't just putting this on you. Life is putting this on whoever wants to become what you want to become. It is inevitable. It's not life trying to sabotage just you alone. It is what you have to go through in order to become a better version of yourself, in order to achieve the goal that you want to achieve. It is a challenge that you have to face head on. You can either face that challenge head on to try to become a bigger version of yourself so that you become closer to achieving your goals and your dreams, or you can shy away from the challenge and think it is too hard for you and that you don't have what it takes, and avoid it for as long as possible. But then that way you aren't progressing towards your dreams anymore. This is something that you have to face and something that you have to go through in order to become a bigger version of yourself, and in order for you to get closer to your dreams. Confidence isn't the belief that we won't meet obstacles. It is the recognition that difficulties are an inescapable part of all worthwhile contributions. If you can change your mindset to face this reality of anything that we are pursuing in our lives, that there will be hardships and there will be anxieties and worries, if you can accept that those feelings and those obstacles are part of your journey towards success, then you won't see it as something that life is doing only at you, that it is trying to sabotage you. You will see it as a sign that you are on the right path, and that this is something that you have to go through in order to get closer towards your dreams. And you will see this challenge and this obstacle as a blessing, and you will see it as a challenge that you are ready to try to overcome. Because you know on the other side of this obstacle is you one step closer to your dreams. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure you like and subscribe. Do all that shit. My name is Matthew, and I'll see you next time.